So Billy, say a while. Lately you've been slipping in and out. Hey y'all, my name is Maggie and welcome to Whatever This Is. In today's video, we're going to be rewriting Billy Stay by Zach Bryan. So when I say rewriting, what I really mean is editing. I find that it's a fun songwriting exercise to go in and take a pre-existing song and maybe rearrange it or change the chords and see what you can create in terms of your own version of it. I chose to work on the song because Zach Bryan is one of my favorite writers in Nashville right now. I want to get that out. I'm not doing this to critique anyone. This is coming out of a genuine respect for the writer. I also chose the song because it was written by a singular writer, which makes it really special and unique. It hasn't been overly refined, which a lot of Nashville music has at this point, so doing this exercise with another song might not work as well. I also chose the song because of Zach Bryan's songs, this is more character-oriented. I don't want to pick anything that was written about a personal experience someone had, even if this is, maybe someone he knows that experienced this. It's easier to pick apart and take an academic stance on a song that is about a character rather than the singer themselves, because then you're not critiquing their life or the way that they chose to write about their life, and that can seem really annoying, and I don't want to do that. So a little information about me so you know I'm not just coming in and critiquing this great songwriter without any knowledge myself. I am a sophomore at Berklee College of Music and I'm majoring in songwriting with a minor in roots performance. So I really care about storytelling and building the craft, especially in country music or Americana. So our 3 goals for today are to reorganize the song, so basically move around words or get rid of some lines that maybe feel redundant or are stated somewhere else in the song in a more clear way. I also want to reharmonize, so add different chords underneath the song, as well as do some production. I am not as good a guitar player as Zach Bryan or whoever played guitar on the track. I'm assuming it's him, but I don't want to assume wrong and discredit someone else. I am fine at guitar. I can do decently enough to get this project done. That said, I am a singer, so I really want to focus on adding harmonies into the chorus. I think that a bluegrassy gospel choir sound would be really nice and nail home the singability of this chorus. It's very well written, and I would like to bring that out a little bit more. So that said, let's get down to it. Okay, so let's take a look at the lyrics and see what we want to kind of change and maybe what's really important to keep. I'm going to be crossing out lyrics that maybe don't belong or feel overly redundant, and I'm going to be highlighting ones that I feel are very necessary and need to be in the song for it to make sense. Or just my personal bias of favorite lyrics. But anyway. Billy, won't you stay? We've been up all night talking about flowers from 65. That's really important. The prints on that dress that you always liked, it's fine. I might keep it, I might not. It's not worth striking through, but it's also not worth highlighting. But I'm going to go ahead and highlight this section. Then, we'd cross the street and you'd hold my hand, same man now that you were back then. Young kids, good for nothing but high hoping, broken, starving, plastic ring, perfect for eloping. So I love this section here. I feel like this verse says the same thing twice, but this is a much better version, so I'm going to go ahead and cross this out. I don't think I'm going to include it in the final version. It just doesn't sound very intriguing or give you more information on the type of relationship they had, so I'm just going to go ahead and cross it out. Years went by fast, you were so good to me. Our children have children, Billy, how could it be? 90 years is nothing to some kids like us. So baby, stick around and tell a story just because. I like every part of this except for so baby, stick around and tell a story just because. That's because it doesn't get across the desperation of please stay that the rest of the song does. I think the title gets that across, I think the chorus gets it across nicely, and even the first line of the song, Billy, won't you stay, we've been up all night. I just think that feels unnecessary and a little bit redundant. So now onto the chorus. I'm going to cut out a little bit of it. I think it goes on for too long, so I'm going to go ahead and strike through this, but I'm going to keep Billy, stay a while, lately you've been slipping in and out, Billy, stay a child, tell me about that girl you dreamed about. I think that's definitely worth keeping. Billy, don't forget, won't you keep on trying? I'll keep my ears open to keep from crying. You're more handsome now than you were back then, and I'm the same girl you fell for when we were kids. Again, I think that this section here really well written, very important, and worth keeping in my version of this song. That said, I don't think "And I'm the Same Girl You Fell For When We Were Kids" is as important. It just nails home the same idea of we've been together for a while, you love me, I love you, but it doesn't add on anything, and it just feels extra and unnecessary. So this next section, I have a love-hate relationship with it, because as a songwriter, it's gorgeous, and I love how well it's put together. The rhymes are all very unique, and the idea that it's conveying is very realistic and understandable. It almost feels like the inverse of If We Were Vampires by Jason Isbell. In If We Were Vampires, it goes along the idea of because love can't last forever, because one of us has to pass, that's what makes it worthwhile, whereas this stanza is saying that love isn't enough because it doesn't last forever. And it's a very interesting contrast that I've picked up on, but it doesn't feel like it belongs in this song. If this was a bridge and maybe the melody differentiated from the other verses, it would make more sense, because then it's like a moment of doubt among all of the trying to beg this person to stay and relying on your love for them to keep you alive. And even the idea at the end of the song where it comes to the realization that even though Billy or your partner has passed, they're still dreaming of you and your love will still live on even after death. This just completely contradicts that. And as beautiful as it is, I don't know how important it is. But you don't know your own name, but you know mine is 100%. That is in theme with the main idea of the song and how it ends. I want to keep that line because it feels very important. These just feel like filler that don't fit. And I really want them to. If this was the end of the song and it just ended here, I think I would be more willing to accept it. It feels more like a conclusion. A very sad conclusion at that, but if it was the end, then it would make a little bit more sense. That's just my personal opinion, as all of this is, and I'm going to keep reminding you of it so I don't get yelled at in the comments. So then the chorus happens again. I'm gonna once again cut out this last Billy Stay a While because it makes it go on for too long. It's fine. Then finally, our last verse, which is a rightful conclusion to what Zach Bryan's trying to say in the song. You went back home in your sleep last night, and I heard you whisper, I love you, goodbye. But maybe your heaven's 1965, with my hair in your face on a long summer drive. To me, you'll never be the times you forgot, but all of our good times and flowers you bought. I am going to do something that you might not be a fan of, but I think that this is what's worth highlighting. I don't know how important this last little section is. To me, you'll never be the times you forgot, but all of our good times and flowers you bought. It's nice. It's a good callback to the beginning of the song, and I understand its purpose for being there, but I feel like it's almost too easily giving away the core theme of the song to the audience. I think that by taking that out, it makes the listener have to work for it a little bit more, and that prompts more people likely to listen to it again and maybe try to understand the story being told. That's a personal gripe. I think it's very beautiful. You'll never be the times you forgot is a very nice sentiment, and I love the idea of the lyric. It just feels too on a silver platter. So anyway, those are my kind of lyrical ideas and how I'm interpreting it. I'll get back to you in a little bit with the final draft and some of the changes that I've made. Okay, so onto my version of the song. I made a good bit of changes. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because you're obviously going to hear it in the produced final of this, but I'm going to just explain some of the key changes I made and explain why I did them. So for starters, I ended up adding a pre-chorus. I basically wanted to give the listener like a wave to ride going into that singable, catchy chorus, which may be contrasting to the idea of the song and the storytelling structure. The pre-chorus might get in the way of that, but I feel like it fits, and we'll see what happens when I add the harmonies beneath it. Going into the chorus, again, I took out that extra Billy Stay. It didn't feel as necessary, and I think that it flows better now. But because I shortened the chorus, I ended up making it happen 3 times instead of 2, like in the original song. I also recycled the tell me of the lovers you once were, tell me about that girl and how you loved her in the last chorus, so there could be a little bit of differentiation in it. Because this is a very repetitive song, and I wanted to break that up a little bit by using what was already there. Another big change I made was I added a bridge where I basically took You Don't Know Your Own Name, But You Know Mine, which was my favorite little section of lines from that 5th verse that I kind of didn't like. And I think that this is a nice culmination of the main idea and the turning point that needs to happen before acceptance. So I added that, and finally at the end, I pretty much maintained that last verse. I just took out those 4 lines that felt overly giving it to the audience, and I just let it end on "with my hair on your face" in a long summer drive. So basically, those are the changes I made. Agree, disagree, your choice, but this is what I think I'm settling on. Let's get into the reharmonization and see what happens. Okay, so now to get into the reharmonization, and as a heads up, I've already done it beforehand. I'm just kind of coming here and going to the verse first, the chorus, the bridge, and the instrumental breakdown to kind of show the changes I made and explain why I did them. I figured that's better content than you watching me stare at a screen for an hour trying to figure this out, because I'm not fun when I'm just throwing in chords randomly. What I've done is I've written out the main melody, and there might be some mistakes here and there, but it doesn't really matter. This is more for my own reference because it's easier for me to match chords when I can see what notes I'm working with in the melody, so I can see where the tension's coming from. But that's just a personal preference. You don't have to do this. I'm just a visual person. So let's head straight in. The first thing that I did was I went ahead and transposed this from A major to D major because I have a pretty high voice and it's just easier for me to sing in D major. So the way the original song goes is it hangs on to this D for a while, and because of that I thought that it might be worthwhile to bring in a D sus2 and take that into a D sus4 going into this second measure. So that way it feels a little bit more diverse and it feels like there's movement happening even though it's still the same root note. I think it just mixes up the palette a little bit. I also changed this G into a D as well. So this becomes a D sus2 and this will become a D sus4 as well. Then going into this next section, I made it a G major 7. I did that because G major 7 has a brightness to it, so it's not completely going dark, but there is tension, which is necessary to show how, while this memory is very fond to reminisce about, it hurts knowing that it's past and there might not be a future. So in the next measure, I bring it back to a regular G and kind of get rid of that tension, and then finish it off with a D, which just kind of goes back to Do and lets it feel more complete. So the next section I wanted to bring in more minor chords and kind of, again, create a darker palette than the original song has, so I changed this into a 2 minor, which would be E minor. Again, I think it just creates a deeper, richer tone, especially going into this moment about how it wasn't always easy for this couple to stay together, and they got through some difficult times, hoping that they can get through this difficult time as well. So I go into E minor and then into F sharp minor to keep that darkness. And then taking it from F sharp minor into G major 7. So it's kind of resolving, but it still maintains just a little bit of tension. And then perfect for eloping goes into the 6 minor and resolves with the D, just again, bringing it back to Do, making it feel complete, because this is still a country song, and even though I'm kind of jazz schoolifying it, I still want to maintain what makes it a country song, which is being easy to listen to. Too many random chords here and there can throw off a listener. So You're More Handsome Now Than You Were Back Then is, I'm going to keep the A here, but then I want to add a little bit more movement. So I'm going to add a B minor here, and then I'm going to resolve that back into the A. So the purpose of a pre-chorus is to kind of drive into that chorus. And while the A is kind of serving as that, being the 5 chord and pushing to the 1, I think there could be more of a push. So I'm going to add in an A7 sus4 and an A7 going into this chorusy section. So it's still going to the A first, but I think it gives it a little bit more drive, which is why I changed it there. So then going into the chorus, I keep the A, keep the D, that's pretty good. Then I'm going to, because this line lately you've been slipping in and out it's not a happy line. I think that it needs a little bit more of that darkness I was talking about before. So I'm going to bring in a B minor and a G major 7. So that gives a little bit more grit and a little bit more intensity. Then going into the next section, I'm going to keep the D, going to keep the A, and once again, going to bring in the B minor to D. And then finally, I'm going to keep it with the A, G, D, because that's a pretty worthwhile resolve to have, and I don't want to change that too much. So that's the gist of how I'm changing the first verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus. 90% of the choices I made while doing this were just what seems like it needs more tension, how can I add that tension, whether it was through a suspended chord or through a minor chord. So hopefully you'll see and enjoy how it ends up. Let's go into the production. So I kind of spread through the production with a little montage because, to be honest, I don't think that I can really teach much about production. I'm still a beginner to Pro Tools, and I didn't want to give you wrong information. But that said, I just recorded guitar with 2 different microphones, panning one to the left, one to the right. For the harmonies, to give it that big gospel effect that I wanted, I recorded multiple times, standing all the way to the left, all the way to the right, closer to the mic, further from the mic, just to kind of give it that more dimension, and then I panned them in multiple directions. Again, there's probably better ways to do it, but that was just the way that I found that worked. I'm really excited with how this has come together. This has been a very fun project to work on and a really good exercise for me. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to try it yourself. Pick a song and see what changes you would make with it, and whether or not you make the song better or worse, which, all things considered, I probably made it worse. But it's just for the experience and to get better as a songwriter. So if you're interested in content like this, let me know and I'll be sure to continue. I'd also be interested to maybe live stream and maybe stream writing a song and interacting with chat. We'll see how this goes. We'll see what happens. Let me know below if you're interested, and I hope you enjoy the final product. Billy, won't you stay? You've been up all night, talking about flowers from 65. The prints on that dress that you always liked. Young kids, good for nothing but high open. Broken, starving, plastic ring, perfect for eloping. You're more handsome now than you were back then. So Billy, say wow. Lately you've been slipping in and out. Billy, say a child. Tell me about that girl you dream about. Years went by fast, you were so good to me. Our children have children, tell me how could it be? Billy, don't forget, won't you keep on trying? I'll keep my ears open to keep from crying. 90 years is nothing to some kids like us. So Billy, say wow. Lately you've been slipping in and out. Billy, say child. Tell me about that girl you dreamed about. You don't know your own name. You don't know your own name, but you know mine. Billy, say things were. Tell me about that girl and how you loved her. You went back home in your sleep last night, and I heard you whisper, I love you, goodbye. Well, maybe your heaven's 1965, with my hair in your face on a long summer